She's dead. Don't shoot! Don't shoot, mother! Mother!
Sam, I'm so glad you came.
What are we gonna do?
Stay calm.
Don't slow down. Don't slow down!
Somewhere in the 20th century, flickers on screen as a faceless bureaucrat is crushed to death by an avalanche of paperwork. In another scene, a government official casually chats about his children while operating torture equipment. A woman's face stretches grotesquely during cosmetic surgery as she smiles through the pain. These aren't fever dreams. They're just another day in Terry Gilliam's Brazil, where nightmare and comedy collide in a bureaucratic hellscape that feels eerily familiar. Released in 1985, during the twilight years of the Cold War, Brazil emerged at a time when fears of totalitarianism and unchecked bureaucracy permeated Western consciousness. While Orwell's 1984 had imagined a brutal dictatorship, Gilliam offered something perhaps more insidious. A society crushed not by jackboots, but by paperwork and incompetence. Despite its visionary qualities, the film was initially a commercial disappointment, grossing just $9.9 million against its $15 million budget in the United States. What's remarkable about Brazil is not just its technical brilliance or dark humor, but its prescience. Years before the internet, before mass surveillance became commonplace, before alternative facts entered our lexicon, Gilliam crafted a world where truth is buried under bureaucracy, where security trumps freedom, and where a clerical error can literally cost someone their life. This wasn't just filmmaking, it was prophecy. Brazil represents Gilliam's most complete artistic statement, a richly detailed nightmare that somehow manages to be wildly entertaining, deeply disturbing, and ultimately heartbreaking. It's a film that tackles profound questions about human freedom.
Oh God, it'll have to wait! Oi, you stop!
The nature of happiness and the cost of dreams in a society that has weaponized tedium. As we explore this labyrinthine masterpiece together, we'll discover why, nearly 4 decades later, we're all still living in Gilliam's Brazil. A man trapped in a tiny office cubicle surrounded by ducks and pipes. A rogue heating engineer swinging like an action hero through a cityscape of industrial tubing. A terrorist bombing interrupting a mother-son lunch as waiters calmly erect screens around the carnage and continue serving. These unforgettable scenes from Terry Gilliam's Brazil showcase not just the director's boundless imagination, but his masterful technical execution in bringing this dystopian world to life. Brazil's technical achievements remain impressive even by today's standards. Rather than relying on the emerging computer graphics of the mid-1880s, Gilliam utilized practical effects, miniatures, and forced perspective to create his retro-futuristic world. The towering Ministry of Information building, for instance, was actually a miniature model of an oil refinery filmed upside down to create an imposing, inverted ziggurat. This practical approach gives the film a tangible quality missing from many modern sci-fi works. What's particularly remarkable about Gilliam's approach is his ingenious use of limitations. Working with a budget that was substantial but not excessive for an ambitious science fiction film, $15 million, Gilliam and his team prioritized creativity over expense. The film's memorable dream sequences, featuring Sam flying through cloudy skies with mechanical wings, were accomplished using a combination of simple wire work, cloud tanks, where paint is diffused through water to create cloud-like formations, and carefully constructed miniatures. These techniques, while relatively low-tech, produced images of striking beauty and emotional resonance. The film's sound design deserves special attention as an often overlooked technical triumph. From the omnipresent ambient hum of machinery to the cacophony of overlapping announcements in public spaces, Brazil creates a sonic landscape that reinforces its themes of information overload and technological oppression. The decision to contrast these mechanical soundscapes with the lilting, ironically cheerful strains of Aquarela do Brasil creates a dissonance that perfectly captures the film's tragicomic tone. Visually, Brazil presents a uniquely cohesive aesthetic that combines 1940s fashion and Art Deco design with futuristic technology. A world where people use computers with tiny screens and typewriter keyboards, where plastic surgery has become grotesque performance art, and where ductwork has consumed architecture like a parasitic organism. Production designer Norman Garwood deserves immense credit for creating environments that communicate volumes about this society without a word of exposition. Gilliam's visual storytelling is particularly evident in his use of contrast between cramped, cluttered spaces and vast, imposing architecture. The tiny apartments and offices where characters live and work are suffocating, filled with malfunctioning appliances and tangled ductwork, while government buildings feature cavernous halls that diminish human presence. This spatial language reinforces the film's central theme: the individual crushed between bureaucratic enormity and the claustrophobia of daily life. The film's production was nearly as dramatic as its plot. The infamous Battle of Brazil between Gilliam and Universal Studios executive Sid Sheinberg became Hollywood legend. Sheinberg, believing the film's bleak ending unmarketable, demanded significant cuts and a happier conclusion. Gilliam refused, eventually taking out a full-page ad in Variety, asking Sheinberg when his film would be released. This battle resulted in multiple versions of Brazil, including the truncated 94-minute Love Conquers All cut that completely undermined the film's message. Behind the scenes, Gilliam's perfectionism was legendary. For the sequence where Sam's apartment is overtaken by ducks, the crew built a set with flexible walls that would physically close in during filming, creating genuine claustrophobia. The director insisted on filling every frame with details that might never be consciously noticed, but contribute to the oppressive atmosphere, from the tiny text on forms to the retrofitted technology, with its absurd complexity. This obsessive world-building creates a universe that feels lived in, coherent, and terrifyingly possible. Mistakes? We don't make mistakes, proclaims Michael Palin's Jack Lint, seconds before executing an innocent man. This chilling moment exemplifies how Brazil's performances elevate its dystopian vision from mere concept to visceral experience. The film's stellar cast doesn't just inhabit their roles, they embody the contradictions of Gilliam's world with disturbing authenticity. Jonathan Pryce delivers a career-defining performance as Sam Lowry, our reluctant protagonist. Pryce's genius lies in his transformation from meek bureaucrat to desperate romantic. His expressive face reveals the soul slowly awakening beneath the civil servant's facade. Watch how he subtly shifts between mindless compliance in his office scenes to wide-eyed wonder in his dream sequences. When Sam finally breaks, declaring "I love you" to the woman he's been pursuing, Pryce makes you feel both the triumph and tragedy of his rebellion. Robert De Niro's brief but magnetic appearance as Harry Tuttle, the renegade heating engineer, provides the film's anarchic counterpoint. Originally offered a larger role, De Niro chose the smaller part of Tuttle, bringing unexpected gravitas to what could have been a simple comic relief character. His line, "We're all in it together, kid," carries a philosophical weight beyond its immediate meaning. The sequence where Tuttle repairs Sam's air conditioning, attacking the problem with guerrilla efficiency while spouting anti-bureaucratic rhetoric, perfectly encapsulates the film's attitude toward rigid systems. Katherine Hellman's Ida Lowry, Sam's status-obsessed mother, delivers the film's most grotesque embodiment of societal decay. Perpetually pursuing youth through increasingly disturbing cosmetic procedures, Hellman creates a character both comical and deeply sad. The infamous scene where she casually chats while her face is stretched into a mask of beauty illuminates the film's themes of appearance versus reality. Hellman's performance is remarkable for its willingness to embrace physical distortion in service of character. Michael Palin, known primarily for Monty Python comedy, delivers perhaps the film's most disturbing character as Jack Lint, the friendly torturer. Palin's natural warmth makes Jack all the more horrifying. He's not a sadist, but a family man who happens to torture people for a living. The interrogation scene where Jack cheerfully discusses his children while preparing his instruments remains one of cinema's most chilling depictions of banality of evil. When he finally confronts Sam in the film's devastating final act, Palin's expression of professional regret is more terrifying than any mustache-twirling villain. The film's most unforgettable scenes merge these performances with Gilliam's visual imagination. Consider the sequence where information retrieval storms the Buttle apartment, encasing the father in a bag while the family watches television. Or the restaurant bombing, where diners continue eating behind portable screens as the carnage is cleaned up. Most devastating is the film's ending sequence, Sam's apparent escape and idyllic life with Jill revealed as a psychological break during torture. These moments work because the performances ground the surreal visuals in emotional truth. What makes these characters and scenes resonate is how they illuminate the film's core theme, the cost of maintaining fantasies, both personal and political, in the face of crushing reality. Each character represents a different response to living in a broken system: compliance, rebellion, denial, or compartmentalization. Through these perfectly calibrated performances, Brazil asks its most uncomfortable question: reception and evolution. Have you got anything without spam? This famous line from Monty Python could easily describe critics' initial response to Brazil, a film many found excessive, confusing, and needlessly bleak. Upon its US release in December 1985, after significant delays due to the infamous distribution battle, Brazil received deeply polarized reviews. Some critics hailed it as visionary, while others dismissed it as an incoherent mess. Vincent Canby of the New York Times called it a superb example of the power of comedy to underscore serious ideas, while other prominent critics found it self-indulgent and overstuffed. What many don't realize is that the version of Brazil they've seen depends entirely on when and where they watched it. The film exists in 3 significant cuts: Gilliam's 142-minute European version, the 132-minute American theatrical release, which Gilliam reluctantly accepted, and the infamous 94-minute Love Conquers All television edit. This last version, assembled without Gilliam's input, transforms the film into something unrecognizable, complete with a conventionally happy ending where Sam and Jill actually escape to a pastoral life together, completely undermining the film's message. The battle for Brazil's soul became legendary in Hollywood. When Universal executive Sid Sheinberg refused to release Gilliam's version, the director took extraordinary measures, organizing secret screenings for critics and famously taking out a full-page ad in Variety, asking Sheinberg, "When are you going to release my film Brazil?" When the Los Angeles Film Critics Association awarded Brazil Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay in 1985 before its official release, Universal finally capitulated and released a compromise version. Over time, critical perception of Brazil has undergone a remarkable evolution. What was once considered excessive is now praised for its visionary quality. The film has steadily climbed in esteem, regularly appearing in greatest films lists and becoming required viewing in film schools. In 1999, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, a remarkable turnaround for a film initially seen as a commercial failure. The film contains fascinating details that reward repeated viewings. Notice how the film's omnipresent ducks resemble intestines, suggesting society is being consumed from within. Or observe that the film's title, while referring to the escapist song Aquarela do Brasil, never explicitly connects to the country of Brazil within the film. The society exists in an intentionally unspecified time and place, making it universally applicable. Gilliam himself appears briefly as a cooling tower employee who gets smoke blown in his face, a fitting metaphor for his experience making the film. Perhaps most striking is how Brazil anticipated concepts that would later become central to films like The Matrix and Dark City. The idea of escaping into fantasy rather than facing a grim reality, the aesthetic of retrofitted technology, and the notion of bureaucracy as a form of control all found their way into later science fiction. Yet few films have matched Brazil's particular blend of humor and horror, its willingness to leave viewers disturbed rather than comforted. As audiences have grown more comfortable with darker, more complex narratives, Brazil has found its rightful place not as an oddity, but as a pioneering work that was simply ahead of its time. This isn't a story about the future, Terry Gilliam insisted about Brazil. This is taking place in 1984. It's about now. 4 decades later, it's difficult to watch this film without being struck by how accurately it predicted the shape of things to come. Brazil's influence stretches across cinema and culture, offering warnings we're still struggling to heed. The film's visual and thematic DNA can be found throughout modern cinema. The Matrix's portrayal of humans trapped in systems of control owes an obvious debt to Brazil. Alex Proyas's Dark City echoes Brazil's blending of noir aesthetics with dystopian world-building. Even Gilliam's own later work, particularly 12 Monkeys, continues exploring bureaucratic nightmares and unreliable reality. More recently, films like Sorry to Bother You and series like Severance have inherited Brazil's approach to corporate dystopia, using surrealism and dark humor to illuminate social critique. What makes Brazil persistently relevant is its understanding that totalitarianism doesn't arrive in military uniform, but in mundane paperwork. In an era where privacy is increasingly compromised in exchange for convenience, where digital surveillance is constant, and where bureaucratic errors can still destroy lives, Brazil's warnings feel alarmingly current. When Sam is told that suspected terrorists have rights, but the suspect's rights can't supersede the rights of the state, the line could be pulled from contemporary debate about security versus freedom. The film's portrayal of media manipulation remains equally prescient. Brazil depicts a society where terrorist bombings are so commonplace, they're barely news, where citizens are conditioned to ignore violence happening mere feet away, and where the government controls narrative through information management. As we navigate our own complex relationship with media, these elements feel less like satire and more like documentary. Perhaps most disturbing is Brazil's insight into how systems maintain themselves. As bureaucracy grows more dysfunctional, it demands more bureaucracy to fix it. As surveillance creates problems, more surveillance is deemed necessary. The system, Brazil suggests, isn't failing. It's functioning exactly as designed, preserving itself at the expense of human happiness and freedom. In one of the film's most memorable scenes, Sam asks his mother's friend about her seemingly endless cosmetic surgeries. "My complication had a little complication," she explains cheerfully, her face covered in bruises. This line encapsulates Brazil's enduring message. The solutions we create often become worse than the problems they were meant to solve, yet we remain committed to them regardless. As we continue to navigate our own increasingly Brazil-like world of information overload, surveillance capitalism, and bureaucratic absurdity, Gilliam's film stands not just as a masterpiece of cinema, but as a warning. The real horror of Brazil isn't that it imagined a frightening future. It's that it so accurately diagnosed the present. Its nightmare remains our reality. So the next time you find yourself on hold with customer service, battling an automated system, or signing away privacy rights without reading the terms, remember Sam Lowry's dreams of freedom amid the ducks and paperwork. We may not all have Tuttle to rescue us, but perhaps awareness is the first step toward escape. If this deep dive into Gilliam's masterpiece has opened your eyes a little wider, hit subscribe for more analysis of the films that shaped our world and continue to reflect it back to us in all its beautiful, terrifying complexity.